Sidecar Grand Prix, an event which over the past few years has proved to be particularly exciting. A full field of riders line up for this one, including number 47 Vince Genova, and more particularly, of course, the reigning champion. So earlier on, we spoke with Margaret Halliday.
Just to keep the left-hand wheel on the ground around left-handers, and to hold the drive wheel down around right-handers where the G-forces are trying to force it the other way, and it makes it wheel spin so it won't drive.
Is it very physically demanding?
It can be, yes. Like a track like Bathurst, it is physically demanding because it's such a long way to go.
If you're a rider, you're driving yourself. If you're a passenger, your life really is in someone else's hands. Is that an odd feeling, a scary feeling?
Well, it can be sometimes, yeah.
And you have complete faith in your driver? Is that important?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yes, Doug's a very good driver. I've got complete faith in him.
What do you think your chances are this afternoon?
Well, going by lap times, it looks fairly good, but you can never tell. You can never tell because you may fail the start, or bike runs off song, or perhaps someone's going a lot quicker in the field.
I'm sorry. What runs through your head before a race?
More through your stomach, I think. Butterflies. Yeah, you get terrible butterflies, and you just can't wait to get going. Once you get going, it's all right.
Is that on the grid beforehand? How do you feel then? Same sort of thing?
Very nervous, yeah. But once you get going, it's fine. It's not so bad.
Margaret Halliday, a brave lady, and we see there on the left-hand side of the grid in the machine number 1. The field on the starting line, 6 laps the journey, the Vesra Australian 1000cc Sidecar Grand Prix. On bike number 51, one of the favourites, Gavin Porteous and Shane Alford. Sharing the front row there is number 2, Greg Neal and John Flood. And the field roars away. Two-stroke haze rises from the back of the machines, and it's Porteous who grabs the whole shot. Doug Shivers into second placing. Third would have been Barry Ditchburn on 32. Fourth was Brian Holmes on bike number 7. The field heading up Mountain Straight. And Doug Shivers, the man on bike number 1, the reigning Australian sidecar champion and the winner of the Grand Prix here last year, is the man that they're all chasing, and there he is on bike number 1. Porteous in second, Ditchburn in third, a former international solo rider. Vince Genova on 47, an immaculate machine. 17 was Graham Biggs from Ballarat. Well, it's a huge field of sidecars, a mixture of 2-stroke and 4-stroke machinery. And this man here on bike number 51 with the inside wheel coming off the deck is Gavin Porteous. Big Gavin over the top at Skyline. In second placing behind Doug Shivers and Margaret Halliday, who have one specific purpose this weekend, and that is to break the lap record. The record is held by them at a 2:26.52, which is an average speed of 151.62 kilometres an hour. Bike number 4 in a little bit of trouble there, and that was Dave Clark with smoke pouring out of his 4-stroke machine. Along Conrod Straight now for the first time, and this machine absolutely rocketing down. The speed trap time yesterday telling us that Doug Shivers was peaking out at 249 kilometres an hour under the JPS bridge at the end of the first lap, and Margaret Halliday absolutely clutching to the sidecar as she tries to hold down that sidecar wheel. Look at the gap, an enormous gap back to Porteous. And a very pleasing one, no doubt, for Doug Shivers. They switched on Friday from the TZ750 engine that they normally run in this machine back to the TZ700, which in actual fact is supposed to make the machine a little more peaky, as we look here at Vince Genova on bike 47 and Greg Neal with the centre hub steering machine, the monocoque chassis on bike number 2. Behind him is Ditchburn on 32. 94 goes through as well in the green and white machine. That's Mal Evans from South Australia. Graham Biggs coming through as we go back to the leader on bike number 1. Doug Shivers, Margaret Halliday, Porteous in the background. Switching from the 750 back to the 700 as we look here at Genova, has only improved the performance of the lead machine by about 2 or 3 kilometres an hour, so it didn't do very much, but Doug Shivers hoping that it will break that lap record for him. Look at this scrap here for the minor placings. Out of Castrol Curve towards McPhillamy, and past that brand new Castrol sand trap, which has proved already this weekend to be a real advantage to riders. That used to be an awesome sight coming across the top of the mountain and looking at the Armco railing, and thanks to Castrol, it's now safer for not only riders of the Australian Grand Prix, but also for the James Hardy 1000 competitors in October. Through the S's, Vince Genova on 47. His passenger, Mark O'Brien, an experienced young passenger now, has been with Vince for quite some time. Genova, a motorcycle dealer from Melbourne, who's not only looking after his own sidecar efforts but also some of the solo riders, including Donny Osborne. And Doug Shivers here on bike number 1 with Margaret Halliday still working very hard. And the two of them set to take what looks like yet another Australian Sidecar Grand Prix as Greg Neal retires to the pits on bike number 2. And the Transact machine again in 1985 having troubles just as it did last year. Left-hander, end of the pit straight. You can see an enormous crowd has built up this weekend to witness not only the Australian Sidecar Grand Prix but also the 125, 250, 350 and 500. And Gavin Porteous here doing everything he can at the moment to try and whittle down that gap between himself and the leader. And he's going to have to make a move on because Vince Genova is not letting him get too far out of his sights as we look here at Roger Freeth just warming up his Suzuki, the Macintosh Suzuki in pit lane. Freeth, the winner of the RI 500. Chris Robinson, Dave Lambert on bike number 6, then Mal Evans on 94 and 79 there is Darryl White and Alan Jamieson. They were in strife in last year's Australian Grand Prix at the starting line, as you may well recall, as we go back to McPhillamy, past the sand trap, and Doug Shivers and Margaret Halliday with that crisp sounding TZ 700 looking and sounding absolutely fantastic. Shivers and Halliday going to Laguna Seca in California later on this year. Second place here, or should I say third place at the moment, still Genova. So unfortunately we don't have the services of this marvellous combination here on bike number 1 throughout the Australian road racing season as they head to the States, and from Laguna Seca and a couple of other meetings that they're doing in the States, they'll then go across to Europe and they'll be competing in the Dutch, Belgian, French and British Grand Prix. So we wish Margaret Halliday and Doug Shivers the very best of luck as they take on now the world's best after having conquered Australia. Up goes their hand. The winner at the end of the 6 laps was Doug Shivers and Margaret Halliday in a brilliant performance. Here's second placing. Gavin Porteous couldn't quite do much about the leader, but it's a well-deserved second in the Australian Grand Prix, and Shane Orford doing the hard work in the chair. And third placing, and this could be very interesting, Ditchburn, in fact, some way back. In fact, he's in 4th place, and Vince Genova has snuck through in 3rd. Here's confirmation. After 6 laps, Doug Shivers, Margaret Halliday winners in 14 minutes and 42.37 seconds. Gavin Porteous and Shane Orford in 2nd in the Grand Prix, and 3rd this year, Vince Genova and Mark O'Brien.
You just got to try and do it where you're not going to get run over by other competitors.